Charlie, Tim Land said that you was meeting this afternoon. Where do you see the Brody money deal, and do you feel like that's going to take a fair bit of toing and froing to get done?
Look, I'm not sure. We'll see. We've had some very preliminary chats with Melbourne. Worked through that through the course of the week. He's obviously contracted, so we've got a bit of work to do. But yeah, we'll get to that this week.
Does that contract mean that you might need to give up a little bit more, given it is such a long deal still to run?
Oh, look, I think with the greatest respect, I prefer not to give a running commentary on how the trade will go down. You know, suffice to say, we'll be working to get a deal done with Melbourne that works for both clubs, and hopefully we can do that.
Just on the details of the trade aside, how do you feel about the potential of bringing in a player like Brody, but also the calibre of the person as well?
Yeah, look, we're really pleased that he's got interest in coming to Sydney. We think Sydney's a really attractive option for him. We need to address our ruck division. That's something we've identified as a priority, and we've got a young midfield group that we think he will really add to and provide some experience and leadership.
Given the retirement of Tommy Keane, the way things have worked out, he's quite chuffed that Brody's become available at a time when you really need a ruck.
Yeah, look, we're certainly pleased. I think as a general comment, we're in a position to be more active than we have been in the last few years in terms of free agency and trade and draft, and we intend to sort of utilise all those levers as much as we can. We've got some priorities, ruck being one of those, and you know, we've already been able to do a little bit through the free agency space. We're hopeful to get some things done this week in a trade sense. But to add to what is a really young group, we've got I think we were the 5th youngest squad going into 2023, youngest midfield in the competition. We think we've got a really good core group of young players, but we'd like to support them, and Brody would add to that.
Charlie, do you need or want Melbourne to cover any of Brody's contract?
Oh, look, I don't think it's appropriate to get into that level of detail. We're open-minded.
Can you talk to how the interest in Taylor Adams came about? He obviously talking about your young midfield. He obviously brings in a bit more depth.
Sorry,
Taylor Adams. How that opportunity came about, where those sort of discussions started, or when they started?
I think it evolved. It evolved quite late, and Taylor's another one we're really interested in bringing to the club if we can. Another contracted player, obviously. So we'll need to work with Collingwood on that. But yeah, I think we've seen clubs do that in the past in terms of bringing in some maturity around a young developing midfield group. We've seen Jordan Lewis do it at Melbourne, we've seen Sam Mitchell do it at West Coast, Jago O'Meara in Fremantle, Tom Mitchell to a lesser extent at Collingwood. We think he would provide some great leadership, and our young players, our young midfielders would learn a lot from him.
Are you expecting Collingwood to drive a hard bargain?
Oh, we'll see. We haven't spoken to Collingwood as yet, and those talks will kick off this week.
How can you keep your 2 early picks and your ones early 20s as well, or how can you preserve those ones for the draft?
Yeah, we'd like to still go to the draft and go to the top end of the draft if we can. We've got pick 11 at the moment, so yeah, we'd be keen to go to the draft.
Did the Callum Mills situation of potentially losing him for a large chunk of next season throw, I guess, a late spanner in the works and cause you to alter your plans here at all?
No, not really. No, I think Mills' situation is unfortunate. We don't know yet, a definitive timeline on him, but we're confident he'll get back and will continue to play at a really high level. We know that he's an elite mid. But as I just mentioned, I think in terms of the overall demographics of our squad, we felt we were in a position to add some experience to it, and that's what we'll be looking to do.
I suppose the Adams situation is probably handy in that context, isn't it, when you talk about leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Charlie, can you confirm with Taylor Adams, was the first approach from Taylor to Sydney or Sydney to Taylor?
I prefer not to go there, Mitch. I think these things just evolve, and I'll probably leave it at that.
He said to Collingwood that he's wanting more midfield minutes. Is that something you've promised to him, or that's been strongly discussed as part of those negotiations?
Oh, look, we see him as adding to our midfield group, but he does have the flexibility to play forward. I think that's one of the great strengths. His great strengths is his flexibility, but certainly we think he has to our midfield group.
You said before. Sorry, Mitch. You said before that it has happened quite recently. Has it progressed sort of after the grand final? Is it safe to say it happened after that?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
How big was the Grundy Adams factor bringing them both in as mates and they've worked pretty closely in tandem previously?
It wasn't really a factor. It certainly hasn't come up in any discussions at this point. We sort of treat them independently, and you know, we're really pleased to have two players that are interested in coming to the club. And I suppose we just need to acknowledge that they're both contracted, so there's work to be done to bring them to our club, but we're hopeful we can do that.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for the ball.
Good shot.